Deniability, and welcome back to Unwrapped, our own news. I'm kind of digging this. I don't have to get in front of the camera, but you guys are still getting to hear from me, and I'm getting to talk to y'all. But look, let's just jump right into why I brought us here together today, and that is to talk about this bulletin that the FBI is putting out, warning of criminals posing as ICE and urging the agents to ID themselves. Hey, it's better late than never to the party, right? We've been saying this from the beginning. Anybody wearing a mask and a Amazon police uniform can say that they're ICE and snatch people up off the streets. So we are seeing that they are now acknowledging that this is something that potentially could and definitely has happened since the beginning of this entire ICE debacle. Anywho, Wired is doing the reporting. If I didn't say that in the first minute, I don't know. Wired is doing the reporting. And you guys know I like to use Wired as a source because they have been doing the Lord's work from the beginning on this administration. So, well, I'll just read the article really quick. I'm probably not going to read the entire article, just the pertinent parts, but you guys are going to get the gist of why Cash Patel and his boys are finally getting on board with the danger that lies in allowing there to be a secret police in the United States of America. All right. Okay, so criminals posing as U.S. immigration officers have carried out robberies, kidnappings, and sexual assaults in several states, warns a law enforcement bulletin issued last month by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The Bureau urges agencies to ensure officers clearly identify themselves and to cooperate when civilians ask to verify an officer's identity. It's amazing how long these fools have been allowed to get away with not doing that. That's the bare minimum of police procedure. Just announce that you're a police, show that you have a warrant, and identify yourself. But anywho, this identification needs to include allowing calls to a local police precinct. So, in quotes, it says ensure law enforcement personnel at a quality, and I did not mispronounce that. That's exactly what the hell is written in the bulletin, at a quality. But we're not here to judge people on their spelling. So ensure law enforcement personnel at a quality identify themselves during operations and cooperate with individuals who request further verification, it says. So, first reported by Wired, the bulletin cites 5 2025 incidents involving fake immigration officers and says criminals are using ICE's heightened profile to target vulnerable communities, making it harder for Americans to distinguish between lawful officers and imposters while eroding trust in law enforcement. These are the people, however, that you guys have given carte blanche to racially profile people. Isn't it kind of hard for Americans to distinguish between lawful immigrants, people who are here legally, and those who may have crossed the border under other pretenses? Looking at them, can you tell? So you are finally coming around to this one thing. Maybe you'll come around to the other thing. I don't know. But anywho, a review of public reporting confirms 4 of the 5 cases described in the bulletin. One appears to have gone unreported, suggesting the FBI drew in part on internal law enforcement information. The document was first obtained by the transparency nonprofit Property of the People. On August 7th, according to the FBI, 3 men in black vests entered a New York restaurant claiming to be ICE agents. Inside, they tied a worker's hand and pulled a garbage bag over the person's head. Another, believing the burglar's story, surrendered themselves only to be kicked to the ground and tied up as the intruders robbed an ATM. The Bureau's advisory urges agencies at every level of government to coordinate to verify legitimate versus non legitimate operations attributed to ICE, a call that frames the wave of impersonations as a national law enforcement concern. The FBI declined to comment. Its National Press Office said that it could only respond to media inquiries involving national security, violations of federal law, or essential public safety functions during the government shutdown. First and foremost, that's stupid. You're law enforcement, federal law enforcement. If the TSA and the air traffic controllers and those kind of people have to report to work and do their jobs, you do too. But anyway, wouldn't this be essential public safety functions? Wouldn't answering this question be of public safety interest? Cases cited by its advisory span kidnapping, street crime, and sexual violence. In Bay County, Florida, the advisory says a woman unzipped her jacket and revealed a shirt that said ICE and told her ex boyfriend's wife she was there to pick her up before driving her to an apartment complex. The woman later escaped. In Brooklyn, it alleges a man told a woman he was an immigration officer and directed her to a nearby stairwell where he punched her, tried to sexually assault her, and stole her phone before police caught him. In Raleigh, North Carolina, it claims a man entered a motel room and threatened to deport the woman if she did not have sex with him, telling her he was a sworn officer. He showed her a business card with the badge. Police said, who knows? That might have really been somebody from ICE. Anyway, the FBI describes a few signs of impersonation: forged or mismatched credentials, outdated protective gear, and cloned vehicle markings. Well, if you don't spend your life looking at police and seeing what protective gear is up to date for 2025, any of these people could be an impersonator. A senior ICE official tells Wired anyone caught impersonating themselves as a federal immigration agent will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Impersonating a federal immigration officer endangers public safety and erodes trust in law enforcement. So their behavior in the streets, them shooting people with pepper ball like in point blank range, that doesn't erode the trust in law enforcement. These people, the contradictions are just stark. And I can't believe we're here, y'all. I can't believe that the people who are enacting violence on many marginalized communities throughout the United States of America is talking about endangering public safety and eroding trust in law enforcement. Like, yeah, the way that you guys are carrying on without all the sexual assault and burglaries and abuse, without all of that, what you guys are doing is still eroding the trust in law enforcement, endangering the public safety. Federal rules require immigration officers to identify themselves and state the reason for an arrest as soon as it is practical and safe to do so. The standard has not changed since it was codified in the 1990s, yet advocates say it is increasingly ignored. The recent increased presence of armed, masked federal officers completely disrupts and erodes public trust in law enforcement. Exactly what I was saying, y'all. That's what Alicia Castillo of the Texas Civil Rights Project said. She further says the increase in local cooperation with federal authorities through 287G agreements has led to a chilling effect on local law enforcement for communities, referring to a program that deputizes local police to act as immigration agents. When masked federal agents conceal their identity and authority as a practice, anyone can put on a mask and carry a gun and not be expected or required to verify their authority. Not to mention just going out there crashing into people and to take them into custody. It's like these people be driving, and here comes quote unquote ICE officers. This is who they say that they are. We don't know. They come pulling up and will literally ram people's vehicles. I saw a video of a lady in Chicago who had her vehicle rammed, was snatched out by the secret police, and they blamed her. They said that she hit them because, again, you can say anything when you have been given the cover of the president of the United States saying that just go out there and do this job. You can do anything, and they have been doing anything. Anywho, the growing use of such unmarked officers has raised questions for months about accountability and transparency in federal policing. However, the Trump administration frames ICE mask use as an officer safety measure best left to the discretion of field leaders. Field leaders being people that was just last week working at Kroger, now this week the ICE field leaders, and they're telling people to wear a mask. Anyway, at a recent press briefing, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said they wear masks at times to protect their identities from dangerous situations. The leadership teams, we leave that up to them to discern what's necessary. That is called plausible deniability, because when the shit goes down, they want to say, hey, we had people in charge of that and it wasn't us. They're putting some distance between them and these very, very reckless acts that they are allowing to happen in the field as they're quote unquote doing immigration control work. I'm going to leave it there. You guys can read the rest of the article. If I remember to go ahead on and link it, I will, because it's a kind of a long article, but it is an essential article. I just thought it was amazing that all of these months later, the FBI has decided, you know what? It might not be a great idea to let people go out in the field with masks on who don't have to identify themselves, and they don't have to show verification that they are even an ICE agent, and let them go and snatch people, women, and children off the streets. Yeah, that might not be a great idea. And here we are. And if those 5 cases that have been cited in this article are the only ones, we can count ourselves lucky, but we know that they're not the only ones. So hopefully I shared a little info with you today. Did not spill tea because I don't do tea. You deserve more than tea. Let me know down in the comments what you think of this. Are we headed in the right direction, or do we still wish that this whole nightmare would stop? Let me know, and I will holler at you in the next one. Peace.